Good afternoon to you. Mark Sutton with HurricaneTrack.com here, looking at potentially catastrophic Hurricane Eta down in the Caribbean as we progress through November 2nd here. Very dangerous hurricane, one of those ones that you just don't like to see. We're fascinated with tracking tropical storms and hurricanes for various reasons, but this is the one time where you look at it and you just like shake your head that a lot of bad things are going to happen because of it. Loss of life is potentially going to be tremendous. The damage down there in Honduras, Nicaragua, especially Nicaragua, from a lot of the different impacts here. We think of hurricanes as having four main impacts: wind, storm surge, flooding, rain, downburst winds, and tornadoes, kind of related to each other to some extent. And this is going to have pretty much all of them. The wind is going to be potentially catastrophic. The storm surge, catastrophic, very similar to what we saw with Laura, probably maybe more. And the rainfall, especially as this comes in and slows down to only a few miles per hour forward speed over very rugged terrain, an area that is susceptible to mudslides, tremendous flash flooding, just torrents of debris-filled rivers overcoming the banks and flooding away villages, etc. A major humanitarian catastrophe in the process of beginning to unfold for our friends down in Central America. And there's also, I'm going to show you just something that's very aggravating that just kind of came to my attention. I'll show you that in a minute, and we've got to do something about it. So let's start off with the origins of Eta. Back on the 29th of October, this was the Tropical Weather Outlook issued at 8 a.m. Eastern Time, as you can see there. And this was the system back then being mentioned by the National Hurricane Center, originating from a pair of tropical waves. There's this large area of disturbed weather that had come across the Atlantic. These tropical waves are low pressure, come off Africa, and they move across. And it's been a very active year for that. Lots of them coming across, and the upper level winds became favorable that we now know. This was what it was suggested on the 29th. There's Zeta, by the way, that was back on that day up over extreme southern Southwest Virginia and North Carolina, etc. And then down here was the beginnings of Eta. You just drop the Z and you have Eta. And so, yeah, it originated from a couple of tropical waves and then just the general favorability of the Western Caribbean. And here we go. And in fact, it developed a little bit sooner than even I was expecting. It got going as a depression through here, if I'm not mistaken, and that it has been steadily increasing ever since. So that's the origins of this. And this is the still frame of the satellite animation, and I want to point out a couple of things that are very important. This is the Central Dense Overcast, or the CDO, and the eye is almost in the middle. It's kind of over on the left side, at least off-center just a little. And if it gets right in the middle, then this will probably go to Category 5. As it stands, I believe, like I said on Twitter yesterday in the evening, I think it was, a very bold statement. And you know me, I try not to be, hyping and just make these crazy outlandish predictions, but I thought I did pretty good with Zeta. And in fact, Zeta overachieved from where I thought. I thought I'd make it to at least 100, and it made it to 110. I believe that Eta has the potential to be stronger than Laura, and it may even knock on the door of Category 5. And the reason is, well, you have this perfect ball of convection. It's almost perfect. The very cold cloud tops, these pinks in here, are minus 80 Celsius or colder. That is important. A very small, well-developed eye, the warming temperatures inside the eye, and the very warm water temperatures over the Western Caribbean. The upper level pattern is conducive. We're in a La Nina. The shear is almost non-existent, probably. And so there's no reason that this won't continue to intensify all the way to landfall down in Central America, more than likely in Honduras. So if we put this into motion, and I do want to refresh it just to make sure I have the latest frames, and you can see what's happened just over the last several hours. It has become markedly better organized. And even here, this updates, I think, every 15 minutes or so. Just an incredible display. And it looks like the CDO has contracted a little bit, meaning that it's even more compact and intense. colder cloud tops coming up, and you would think, and this is where I'm going to kind of go off the rails a little bit, with recon en route, and they were supposed to be there in the next little while, we were going to get a sampling of this and know how intense this was, a NOAA research plane, but alas, it looks like that's not going to be the case. This tweet here from Tyler Stanfield, I'm going to go at the one below first. Yet another aircraft reconnaissance mission is delayed due to maintenance issues. I mean, this is unbelievable. And the United States provides all of the recon for the Atlantic Basin. And I get that. We shoulder a lot of responsibility there. But, man, just this year alone, if we just look at what the impacts from tropical cyclones have been, I think aerial reconnaissance should have a lot of priority, okay? This tinkering around, using older airplanes out, and there's some stuff that I know that I'm not going to talk about because it'll break the trust that I have with some people. But believe me, this is a disgrace. It's ridiculous. And we are in the face of an intense hurricane that's going to affect human lives. And when these hurricanes affect the United States, we become very U.S.-centric, obviously, and I understand that. But we provide this information. It's good for research. It's good for the science of it. And we're taking these old beat-up planes that are having these issues. And if you've been following along this year, you've seen where more than once, time and again, we've had these problems. And as Tyler says, hurricanes don't discriminate. They do not. They are not living things. We give them names, and we maybe try to humanize them with that, but they do not. Remember that movie Interstellar? They talked about that it was Anne Hathaway's character, that nature is not evil. It just is, and I'm paraphrasing there. And that's the way it is. These processes, these hurricanes happen whether we're here or not. And we are here, and we are in their way. So funding a better Air Force and the NOAA planes fleet ensures that these missions can operate as scheduled and more regularly to not only protect life and property, but to increase our understanding and to better anticipate rapid changes with these storms. Think about how many of these have rapidly intensified going back to 2018. Michael all the way up to landfall, Category 5. Dorian rapidly intensified, and only by the grace of God or somebody or something, whatever you believe, we got spared a massive catastrophe in Florida, but it didn't do the same for the Bahamas, did it? This year, Laura rapidly intensifying all the way up to landfall. Zeta, with all the people talking about, and they were just trying to make the point that the cooler Gulf temperatures should preclude a major event. These people were not idiots. I know there was some talk about that earlier, and I made it a point to talk about that I thought sea surface temperatures in the Gulf were not going to hinder it, but look what happened. And we had recon out there, and there was times where it was, they were having issues, somebody had to turn around. Anyway, this seriously, politics aside, this is ridiculous. And we need the funding and the maintenance. Do we have to put this on Patreon too? Do we have to crowdfund, $500 million a year for recon or something? Seriously, what is it going to take? Maybe a private weather company with money like SpaceX does. Okay, Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, you want to get into the hurricane business? Well, we got some good people that could help you out with it, and plenty of people that we could create our own company and serve the world. I'm dead serious. Give me a call. As you laugh at me, don't laugh, because this is a real problem and it's unacceptable. All right. Rarely do I get upset, but this sucks. And so here we are. This is the track, and it's going to head into an area where along the coast there will be a terrific storm surge. And by terrific, you know what I mean by that. It'll be tremendous, horrific, just awful. Once it gets inland, and the slow motion of it, the orographic lift down here in the mountainous areas will lead to potentially thousands of lives lost. Mudslides, rivers going out of control. You're going to see video will still emerge from the area. Just incredible, nightmarish flooding. Villages swept away. Men, women, and children. And they have no idea that it's coming other than their instincts. Okay? They're not sitting down there logging into Twitter and checking things out on their high-speed internet in the mountainous terrain of Nicaragua. It's not happening. Some people are, most aren't. And here we go. We saw it with Mitch back in 1998. There's others in history. And Recon is not going to be able to check this out as scheduled. What a shame. One of the other reasons this is going to be so powerful, and will continue to be, the upper ocean heat content, very high. Not the highest, but this shows you. This is still in the moderate range there. So plenty of warm water that's very deep warm water. It's not just the surface. And in case you're wondering if this survives, and we all know, we've all seen the Euro, the GFS, we know that this could come in milli, is that a word? Dilly-dally around, mill around, and then pop out somewhere in the Gulf of Honduras, and then maybe somewhere in this area. We're going to have to deal with it again over the next several days. So yes, the upper ocean heat content is still formidable. And yes, around Florida and the Bahamas, it is still formidable, as is the case for Cuba. It's not over. Hurricane season is not over. And we knew that this was coming. We had the La Nina setting up, the much warmer than average sea surface temperatures. This is not a surprise. That doesn't help, and I'm not trying to stress people, but we got to watch this. It's not over until it's actually over. And there are some indications that Eta survives, at least part of it, the mid and upper level energy. I'm getting into some mechanics here that we can deal with later, but do not be shocked if we're dealing with Eta on the maps here in the coming days beyond tomorrow, very important day, oh my goodness, and so forth and so on. It could be here even a week from now that we're not quite done with it. And then after that, the pattern is going to be such that I think we'll have another couple of storms form somewhere in the southwest Atlantic, and we will break the record of the most named storms in history and the ACE score, the accumulated cyclone energy. I still think it's going to break 200 points. I really do. And this will go down in history as one of the busiest and most destructive hurricane seasons in recorded history. And we saw this coming back in April because of science. We didn't know the particulars, but the signals were overwhelming. And I think that is remarkable. That way we're not sitting back and thinking, how could this happen? We had no idea. We absolutely had an idea. And for people that have been following what I have been saying, what others have been saying, it's not just me. There's Jack, there's Eric, there's Ben Knoll, and other private weather companies. We saw it coming. And then, of course, NOAA and Climate Prediction Center, etc. So real quick, for what it's worth, the GFS here, and I know it's been wacky with the models this year, this is the signature of Eta down here in the Caribbean. Very small, compact area of energy and just ferocity. It moves inland very slowly into Nicaragua and then kind of mills around, like I said, piece of it, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen, but as it emerges out, something over the next week or so, we'll just go out to a week, kind of gets tangled up there, maybe in the vicinity of Cuba. Is it going to be a big sloppy mess? I don't know. I'm going to just go right out and tell you, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. This is the 12Z run of the GFS from today. This is last night's Euro for what it's worth. Again, just showing you out to a week as well. This is every 24 hours here. It moves inland and kind of hangs around over the Honduras-Nicaraguan border, back up into the Gulf of Honduras, the center of vorticity right there. Kind of hanging on there, and this is about 4 days out. So this gets us out to this coming Friday, Thursday night into Friday. And then it survives in the Gulf of Honduras where water temperatures are plenty warm. And then it goes through day 6 and day 7. By day 7, the Euro suggesting that the Cayman Islands could be dealing with a hurricane, and a very formidable hurricane at that. Upper ocean heat content in this area is where those whites were. And we can go back to that and I can show you. It would be, there's Grand Cayman there. Eta would end up somewhere in this area. So we absolutely have to watch this extremely closely. This is a week out, and I know, it's 7 days, a lot can change. If we just back it up to day 5, well, let's just see what happens from there. But this is the potential going forward. And you see, there's a couple of big clues. This is a detail. This is a small detail in the larger pattern. Look at the massive ridge sitting over the eastern United States here, just a huge area of high pressure, kind of keeping this squashed down in the Caribbean so that it's not as easy for it to just eject out and head out into the open Atlantic. So yes, we're going to be dealing with this, I believe, for several days to come. And with everything that's going on, we cannot ignore all of the gravity of the situation. The United States election tomorrow, November 3rd, this catastrophic hurricane making landfall on that day. It's going to make landfall tomorrow. And then everything that's going to happen over the next few days with the election. I never, ever, ever had an interest in getting into politics because why would you? I mean, holy cow, it's bad enough with the weather. But these next few days, whatever happens with Ada and that could potentially happen, you almost don't even want to think about it. That, Florida coming into play, I don't know. There are still people even without power today from Zeta, and the election is tomorrow. That's going to have a little bit of changes. There was just a little bit of a ripple effect from Hurricane Zeta in the election process. I saw it myself. I read about it. And, you think about, I don't know, just these next few days from now until about 10 days from now, November 12th, could be an absolute collision between United States politics and weather. And that's all I'm going to say. And I have no dog in the political fight, so to speak. I mean, you know what I'm saying? I'm not an expert at that at all. So I'm not going to even go there. But the weather part and what might happen in a state with 29 electoral votes, and that is Florida, that's all I'm going to say about that. Stay tuned. I believe we're going to have quite an interesting time ahead, and why not? The finale of 2020 begins now. As always, thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it. Sometimes I wonder if this is just like my own version of the Truman Show, but gone off the rails. Wow. But really, I do appreciate it. Let's hope and pray for the people down in Central America, because it's going to be bad, and we shall see what we shall see. And then, seriously, let's start a crowdfunding and get these research planes. I'm just kidding, but maybe it's going to come to that. All right, let me get this done and put online. Have a great rest of your Monday. I am Mark Sutta. Thanks for watching Hurricane Track. I'll talk to you some more tomorrow.